Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is the 12th. It's a Thursday. We got CPI today, so first real economic data in quite some time. Should be fun, and we still got a two-way market here with a lot of rotation going on. Let's fix that up there first. There's something going on with that chart. You're gonna have to fix that. Volume profile. So you can see here. Yes. Here was the, the really, oh wait, we're looking at copper. Okay, here's the really big spike up in the E-mini, kind of sideways.
8:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
Hold on a second.
CPI month-over-month forecast 0.1%.
I never turned off my speakers. Okay. All right. Anyways, we kind of been going sideways, but you can see that there's been a lot of divergence between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And it's still moving enough for us to have opportunity. Actually, I think it's kind of maybe a little bit more favorable movement in the degree of movement. Liquidity yesterday wasn't very good, though, yesterday. Holiday. All right. Treasuries actually kind of gaining a little bit of a bid as the cash market comes back here. So oil kind of peaking a little bit yesterday, but I mean, they're still up there at the top of that range. So we'll just see where they go from here. Gold had a pretty good down move early yesterday and kind of recovering. And the same here with copper. So the metal's still kind of experiencing some issues. I think that might be supply related. Oh my gosh, this needs to change, because why are we showing all of my robots haven't gotten where they've gotten in? So yeah, we're well above all the moving averages and everything. We'll see if the Treasury is able to make it back up to the 138.06 half. Dollar index. We're watching here. They've come down a little bit, but it seems like they're doing pretty okay around 93. And I think that some of that is coming from weakness in the Eurozone. Also, we got to check out the Bitcoins. Bitcoin holding 16K now, actually. Holding 16K. So, and you can see, there's an okay amount of volume. So the way that I'm determining volume is just like how many bars are there per day. There's an okay amount of volume in the Bitcoin futures. We should go and look, because 16K is like our, okay, danger imminent level. So we should go and investigate puts, shall we? But first, we've got CPI data. That's our first thing that we got to look at here. And I'm wondering if that's going to put some downside pressure on the Treasuries. I'm noticing that there is quite a bit going into 28. Well, let's reset this chart. There's something wrong with this chart. Well, here's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to clear the cache. So we've got about 2 minutes here. There we go. I think that something happened with that file. But we're good now. We're good now. So we're a little bit on the sell side today, but quite a bit of an overextension early on. Looks like the buyers have made some good money though at points today, so yeah. Look at that liquidity pulling. My oh my. Oh, and remind me after the news comes, I want to turn the robots on, so. I always forget. I'm tempted to just straight up go short here in the Treasury because I'm thinking that it might come in a little high. But especially with the pulling like that, I don't think I can really handle that. Okay, so we're looking for a reading of month over month spot 2. That's the core inflation rate, and inflation rate of spot 1. Okay, 0 spot 0, lower than forecast. So year over year is 1 spot 2 versus 1 spot 3. Core inflation rate year over year 1 spot 6 versus 1 spot 8. For some reason, Jigsaw's not showing it, but I can see it here on Twitter. CPI month over month, actual 0 versus a forecast spot 1. Well, that didn't work out at all. So maybe part of the problem here is that we were a little bit up there. So I was not thinking there when I did that. Didn't completely think things through. I should have been thinking, well, you know, a further move up would be quite an excessive push. So there might already be priced in, or they might have to come back immediately after it happening. And that's what happened. So I will take my loss on that one. Okay. So I fixed that. So I think now would be a good time to go and open up Thinkorswim and see if it will show us what we would have to put up for Bitcoin puts. I forgot about the jobless claims was 67 versus 69, lower than expected. That's actually pretty good. I think almost, well, I mean, did the E-mini really move up on that excessively? Not really. Oh, yeah. Turn on the robots. Turn on the robots, Seth. Okay, the robots are on. I don't know why that one. Why is that one green? Oh, this is still loading. Maybe that's why. Okay. Let's bring this over here and see if it'll show us. Dash BTC. Bitcoin futures. And I think we want, well, how do we do this? Do we use the December contract? Let's do the January contract. And there's the option chain. Ooh, okay. So if I want 1,600 strike puts, 1710. Oh, man. It's not tradable. Oh, no, wait. Oh, even on my sim, can I even do it? Analyze, add simulated trades. Will it even let me do it that way? Man. The puts are actually quite expensive. Why is that? It says it's not tradable. Well, there you go. There's our answer. I guess we can't do it through Thinkorswim. There's some ways to do it through some exchanges, but you would have to already have Bitcoin in there. So that's a little disappointing. Okay, cool. My cumulative delta strategy is running. There's a problem with it. There's a problem with it, and it gets out too early. But let's just let it run and see what it does. Vlad says GBTC, gray stock. Well, I think that I should go and do a little bit more investigation and see what the best way to deal with it actually would be, because I'm sure that it will be in this overbought position for quite some time. Because what tends to happen is they like to try and push like the whole month of November, and then after that is usually when it falls apart, right? Let's see here. Donald Trump was tweeting some stuff from 200,000 votes to less than 10,000 votes. If we can audit the total votes cast, we will easily win Arizona also. Now, the margin in Arizona is enough that an audit could make a difference. It's starting to sound, though, like in these other states, especially Michigan. Was it Michigan? You know, I don't even remember anymore. There's some states where the margin seems so far. It's hundreds of thousands of votes, and the pieces of like the best case scenarios that you're looking at on Team Trump are like hundreds of thousands of votes. So that 26.5 is holding a lot of liquidity, probably because that was the last place, the last pivot. Rob, good morning. How are you? Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to think now that the CPI. Well, I think that the CPI data can push the treasuries up. If we're getting 0% inflation month over month, that can't last very long before the Federal Reserve is going to step in and do something. You know. It's But where can I buy here today? It's tough. Man, the media is so I find it kind of amusing, the things that the media will tend to get hyper focused on. I guess, of course, a lot of stories aren't going to affect the market, and so we might have a different view of them. There's some that, you can tell are just cultural flashpoints, like the Kenosha incident. This is definitely a cultural flashpoint. But like this whole thing about whether or not Donald Trump is president-elect, who cares? It doesn't matter. The electors are going to come in and vote in December probably, and that'll be the end of it. Something interesting might happen in Pennsylvania, though. I think they have a very good case in Pennsylvania. I'm really interested to see how the Supreme Court rules on that case, because I think that they are going to say that the Pennsylvania court acted contrary to the Constitution, but what will the remedy be? That's what I want to know. Especially since apparently Pennsylvania ignored all of the Supreme Court's orders and mixed the ballots together and threw away all of the envelopes, so there's no way to tell which ones were mail-ins and which ones weren't. Well, since we don't have much else going on, let's read the CPI report, shall we? Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers was unchanged in October on a seasonally adjusted basis after rising 0.2% in September. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today over the last 12 months, all items in the index increased, blah, 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 blah. Component indexes were mixed with many offsetting increases and decreases. The food index rose spot 2, with the food away from home index rising by spot 3. Any smaller spot 1 rise in the food at home index. The energy index rose spot 1% in October as the index for electricity increased 1 spot 2%. What? Electricity increased 1 top spot, and that's seasonally adjusted. We maybe... Is that good or bad for electricity companies with good dividends? We should look at those, because if we're getting a value rotation, that might be a good place to go, right? Okay, let's look at that next. Let's finish reading this. The index for all items less food and energy was unchanged following an increase of spot 2. The index for shelter increased spot 1, which was offset by a spot 4% decrease in the index for medical care. Indexes for airline fares, recreation, and new vehicles were among those to rise, while indexes for motor vehicle, insurance, apparel, and household furnishing operations decline. So do you see what's happening here? All of the things that people actually need are getting more expensive, and all of the things that people can't really afford to have right now, especially if we're going to go into lockdown again, are getting cheaper. That's what's going on here. What a big jug drink you have there? No, it's not that. It's just a liter. It has this, it makes this beautiful sound. I love it. The trader's going to trade mug milk so much cooler. I know, right? And now if I can get a bottle like this, maybe I can make one. I bet you I could make one. Yes, we will do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it into a, So this is rubber. How do you paint on rubber? It says that I could use acrylic paint. Okay. Electricity companies with good dividends. Top utility stocks for November 2020. Blah, 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 blah. NRG Energy. NRG Energy. Shall we look with fidelity? Yeah, I think I would want to do it. Like if there was something that could like discolor it. You know what I mean? Sempra Energy and PPL. See, I was looking previously at AT&T. Which has been doing okay. It had a little gap up actually since I started looking at it. But if we could look at NRG, they're actually not. I would have expected that would be a value stock that would be, coming up. Well, there's one. There's quite a gap on that one. That one actually looks quite expensive. Well, I mean, it's 130. Maybe that's why I think it's expensive. But look at this wide range that it's traded. Let's look at like year to date. Okay. Let's see. PPL. Okay. But will it tell me here? How do I go in here? Stock/ETF profile? NRG. Dun 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 dun. Dividends, hey. Dividend yield 3.72%. SRE 3.13. PPL 5. So how does that affect the oops, I didn't want to do that. I want to stop that. Okay. So PPL is doing okay lately. They did have a gap up. Good morning, JB. Silk screen, that's what they do for mud flaps anyways. It's just a question of what kind of paint did they use, I guess. If there was a way to like silk screen it and then it would just like discolor the rubber in that spot, that would probably be better. But I don't know. It'd be really hard to put it on there in a way that you would really be able to see, huh? I think what we should do is we should make a picture. Like you see that picture of the canvas? The question is just what style should we do? We could do some sort of a cool project with it. I'll think about that. Okay, so PPL has a pretty big one, but then let's see here, AT&T, isn't that a lot higher? Yeah, 7 point. Now, a lot of people would say that dividend ain't gonna last, right? And who was it? There was a big guy was in AT&T, I think, and was dumping it. So, I'm still kind of thinking AT&T might be a better bet, especially since with AT&T you're gonna get a little bit of exposure to like 5G, potentially 6G. So my understanding about 6G is that 6G latency is practically instant, like a wire. And so at that point you can create like military hardware. You can fly drones with 6G essentially. And that's special, apparently. I mean, that would open up a lot of things. And China has already launched a 6G satellite. Yeah. So they're running at a price earnings of 18. Earnings per share growth. Its PE growth ratio is not bad, actually. Last quarter versus same quarter prior year. We would need to look at forward earnings, huh? A beer drinker uses what is called a koozie. It's an insulated foam that has printing on the form. I would think the same idea applies to your water. Oh, I don't know. You'd only be able to see the bottom of it. Oh, so let's go back to the other one that we're looking at, PPL. What do their earnings look like? Okay, so they're at a much lower PE. But they have negative growth. That's why their dividend must be so high. Especially when, well, let's see here. Wow. Down 43% compared to last year, when the industry average was up 6.33. So there's probably something going on with that company but wrong, right? So I don't know if PPL, just from the cursory investigation, although I think we could look at it more on my own time, I'm not so sure PPL is the right choice. Interesting, though, to look at. Okay, well, Treasury's still staying down here. Maybe they might be stuck here for a while, trying to just build up some room. I wonder... So we're starting to come up on to where maybe we would think about taking some trades in the E-mini. We're like smack dab in the middle of a range. In the middle of a range. A range that's in the middle of a range. Ranging. Just I suppose that this would be an okay place to go short, but normally they would probably continue up a bit. For some reason, my eyes are watering a lot. You know what happens when you dab them? I think that then you don't have as much tear in your eye, and then that makes it weep more. So you gotta be careful about just getting the stuff that's coming off. U.S. military using private spy planes to keep tabs on China, think tank says. U.S. condemns unseating of opposition legislators in Hong Kong. And the U.K. is talking sanctions. So what do you think that they will do? Yeah, Donald Trump. Okay, I've seen enough. What's going to happen to these guys? McCabe, Comey, and the gang of treasonous thugs? They and many others got caught. Do something? It's a good question, guys. How come there hasn't been any legal action on that stuff? Was what they did not legally actionable? Well, anyways. Nassim Nicholas Taleb says never hire an A student unless it is to take exams. Are they retweeting this thing that Goldman Sachs posted yesterday about their top trades? Have you seen this? Or I'll show you guys. Open link in new window since we don't got much going on. They want to go long the Canadian and Australian dollar versus the US dollar with equal weights together. So it's kind of like a pair trade, I guess. Long a roughly volume weighted basket of MXN, AZAR, INR versus USD. I don't know what those are. Long CNY that versus long 3-year CGBs combined. Long SGD versus TWD. Yeah. FX, man. Rates. Long 3-year, 1-year forward US real rates. Look, they're all longs. They're not thinking short treasuries over here. Even though the treasury market is short treasuries. Long high yield versus investment grade in the USD cash market. There you go. This is what we were looking for. Hey, we're on the right track. Does that mean we're on the consensus trade though? And like we're going to be late and you're going to lose money off of that one? I think it's just merging. I wish that it would give like stocks or like sectors or something, but it's not them. Just remember though that Goldman Information Research is like might as well be a separate company from the rest of Goldman. It literally functions as a separate company. How does a layperson separate the real news from the fake news? There's an easy rule. It's all fake. Okay. There are numerous articles talking about the inadvertent AT&T dump. No, it was like Ackman or someone like that. Still, kind of looks pretty satisfied, happy with just trading at the point of control 27.5 in the 10-year. Okay. Well, it does look like the E-mini is bouncing there off of that buyer cost basis. I didn't see anything terribly interesting in the order flow up there, so I'm going to say it was random chance. Let's see here. Sorry for bringing this. No, it's completely on topic. Has anyone connected Earn to Trade to Sierra chart? I'm trying to add rhythmic bridges, but I can't figure out how. Oh, yes. So, have you come into, well, I don't know if I can show you without shutting everything down. But first thing is, you remember that there's Rhythmic Trader and there's Rhythmic Trader Pro. I don't know why they have two applications because they're both free, but you want Rhythmic Trader Pro. And when you log into Rhythmic Trader Pro, there's going to be two spots. One's going to be data and one's going to be execution. But the credentials are going to be the same for both. Okay. And then there's a button somewhere that says plugin mode. So you go in and you do, oh, no, wait, you know what? I don't think you can do it with Sierra charts. Let's see here. I don't think you can do it with Sierra Charts. Sierra Charts plugin integration. Let us see. Will you provide blah, 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 blah. Wow, this was in April. Oh. Sierra Chart has discontinued support for Rhythmic. We cannot technically accomplish this. Okay, so here would be my recommendation. If doesn't Earn to Trade have a setup for using NinjaTrader? I think that you can use NinjaTrader with those guys for free. Could be wrong. But I would look into that. I don't think that you can do the Rhythmic bridge with Sierra Charts. That's where it gets interesting. As like with Rhythmic, you can't really use you can't get you can use Rhythmic for NinjaTrader brokerage. So if you're at NinjaTrader brokerage, then you can use the bridge. But you can use Rhythmic. If you're not, you can only use Rhythmic on a demo account, which is kind of weird. But if you're not executing through NinjaTrader, then it doesn't matter, right? Kinda. But don't tell them, okay? That probably wasn't the best answer for him, but this broker data feed stuff is so confusing. It is, Chris. I mean, it's not confusing so much as it is complicated, because there's exceptions for every tiny little thing. It's really annoying. It's really annoying, and I frankly blame the platforms, because the reason this happens is because the platforms start to go, okay, well, we've made a good platform. How can we expand our business? Ooh, I know. Let's start providing the data. So that's what Sierra Charts did. Let's become a brokerage. That's what NinjaTrader did. And then, they have to make special agreements with the different data providers. So over on NinjaTrader, they promote Kinetic, which is CQG, or I believe that it's CQG. But they didn't completely ditch Rhythmic, which is good. But you just have to specifically request for that, and there's all kind of little special conditions for it. But the good news is that the Rhythmic one kind of works out. Now you would hope that CQG would go and make a CQG trader that does the same thing, so that you could use multiple applications through, have multiple applications share the connection data through CQG. Nah, I've been told that that's unlikely. My sources say that's unlikely. So then you're probably better to go to Rhythmic, but Rhythmic doesn't as they're used. It's it's all that nonsense. But then, good news, Jigsaw has built-in charts now. So, if you're just using standard indicators and everything, NinjaTrader pretty much has everything that you need. You might not be able to make it look as pretty as you want, or exactly the way that you want. There's different time frame bars that they don't have yet. They only have, minute and second bars. But hey, it works, and it's sufficient. Unless you're like me and you want to program algorithms. But then if you're like me and you want to program algorithms, maybe it doesn't make sense to build that stuff into NinjaTrader anyways. Especially if you can share the connection like that. So then you could use NinjaTrader, because NinjaTrader is a great platform for it. And technically, you don't even have to actually buy the platform if you're not using it for execution. That's a pretty good deal. Or maybe at some point we get a different platform, because there's been some issues with NinjaTrader, and yeah. I bet you if you made a platform that was for futures, but the programming was all done in Python, that would be incredibly popular. I don't think I would want to do it in Python, though. I think I would want to do it in a language where I can control the memory really well. Control the memory really well, but still has machine learning stuff. And let's see, what does the internet say about the best machine learning languages? R programming language has a lot of stuff for machine learning? Really? And R actually might be really interesting. How come you don't use Sierra for algorithms? I thought they were pretty good for that kind of stuff. Well, so I don't know. The first big thing is that when I first got into NinjaTrader and started building things, I really wasn't aware that Sierra charts was a thing. I mean, though I'll just be honest about that. Now, I think that Sierra charts is a good platform. Personally, I don't think that it's better than NinjaTrader. So just a couple things. First of all, like, is just not user friendly, man. Trying to find a setting in Sierra charts is like, who wrote this thing? It feels to me like they gave this to some, they outsourced the programming to some guy who was a really good programmer but wasn't a trader. And so you kind of got this program that's disjointed and just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the way that we tend to look at things in trading. So that's kind of frustrating. And then in Sierra charts, you have to use C++ to write stuff, which actually isn't too big of a problem, especially if you're just creating your standard indicators. But then if you want to do like order flow stuff, there's lots of things that probably should be built into the application and aren't. So like you can come in and there's a method where you can access the queue of all of the events that have come in since the last update, because it updates on a set time frame, right? So it's like every 100 milliseconds it will come in and you can look at all of the data updates in the queue and process them all. But you have to write the logic to go through all of the items and process them and so forth. And it's like the way that you're going to do that is going to be the same in almost all cases. There's like only one way to really do like a pub sub, go through a queue sort of a thing. So like, it's those kinds of annoyances in Sierra charts. So to do anything related to order flow is like, twice as much effort in Sierra charts. Gary says all those themes by Goldman make sense. Are you delayed again, Gary? Click that down at the bottom of YouTube. There's a little button that says live. Click that live button, because I would like to speak to you with current. Okay, so I'm getting an error here. Did I get the error? Did I get the error? Where is output? I did. You are accessing a bar with an index out of range. So I have this bug in my resting orders indicator, and what I will do is after the stream, I'll open up NinjaTrader, or I'll open up Visual Studio to debug it and see where the actual break is. And I can never get it to break when I'm doing that. But then it happens from time to time during stream. It's so annoying. I wish that it would give a line as for where the error is coming out, but it doesn't. So it could be anywhere. Well, I know that it's on market depth. It's on market depth, and it's trying to index out of. I don't know how that's happening. It might happen because I'm getting some sort of strange race condition Like maybe the on market depth is being called just as the on bar update is happening, and so that hasn't made the new bar bit yet, but it thinks that there is a new bar, and so it's trying to get into it. Maybe that's what's going on. How can you get around the UI 225 millisecond updates on NinjaTrader for order flow tools, asks Tom. That's a good question, and shows that you're really looking at the technicals of it. Here's the thing. If you're doing it for, an indicator that you're going to look at, then is the quarter of a second difference really going to be a big del for you? And I say no. Like, you can't react that fast anyways, and I don't think that you should be trying to put level 2 histograms up there for those kinds of purposes. Now, when you're looking at like updates on the DOM and the way that it looks on the DOM, it matters, and that's where you want to use Jigsaw, right? But for the indicator itself, just remember that update is only on the visual display, right? So your code will still get every level 2 update. It's just that the changes that are being made from those updates might not necessarily show up on the UI as quickly as you want, right? And even then, you can like force refresh, so I don't know how strict that is. But it's never been something, even though I know it exists, it's never been something that I've actually been able to notice in any of my indicators. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I guess that's about all I can say about it. You still get all of the updates, you know what I mean? Like it will come in and it will tell you every level 2 change update that you get still. Right? So it's not like otherwise, yeah, how would you do it? Because you would be missing data, right? Or it would get chunked together and you would have to deal with the chunked data, and so there would be things you wouldn't be able to tell from the individual order changes. R. Did not realize that R had a really great machine learning stuff built into it, but there's definitely a lot of libraries, and the way that R deals with libraries is one of the coolest things. I don't think that I would want to write trading algorithms in R, though. Java, no. Julia. Lisp. People still use Lisp? So I'm wondering, like, Rust machine learning. Chris says maybe Earn to Trade will refund you, but there's multiple platforms you can use for them, right? Let's see. Yeah. Just do you have like a Sierra Charts like super expensive license or something in it? Because if not, what I would do is I would just, Sierra Charts is like a monthly thing, right? I would just go and download the NinjaTrader demo, set up Earn to Trade with NinjaTrader. They give you a key, I believe, that you use so that you can trade with it, and use that. Finmark Systems. I've never heard of that. And they use Rhythmic. This guy thinks that Rust for machine learning is actually not that bad. Chris says I think it's going to look research Ninja. I currently use VWAP. That's built-in TPO and footprints. Yeah. So I don't know. So I'll be interested to see if you get those. So NinjaTrader has those features built in, but a lot of those are ones that like you're supposed to have a license to have, and I'm not sure, but I'm going to bet that the earn to trade license that you get would not make those features available to you, but there are lots of add-ons that you can download. I know for sure that you couldn't get them on Futures.io if you have a membership there, and if not, you can just get them through the NinjaTrader website. But there are free add-ons out there that existed long before NinjaTrader built any of those features in that would give them to you. You're long at 56. I mean, I'm kind of feeling it, actually. It's not your normal setup, though. What about over here? Let's move this. No, I think I'm going to wait for the open. It's too close to the open. Yeah. This often overlooked feature of Python is reasonably easy to interoperate with other programming languages using its foreign function interface. In particular, Python libraries can delegate to C and C++ the bits of a program that require intense number crunching. This is the strategy used by all the foundational libraries in the Python scientific ecosystem. Oh, so they're saying that in Python, you're not really getting the performance penalties for using it because those parts use every day for years. Well, it wasn't for years and years. It's kind of been more lately, Ace. Well, this week. I followed them for a long time. But this one, I'm like, yeah, 54, it would have been a different story, right? Let's see, you're telling me it looks to me that the bookmap style depth chart would be affected a bit by the update rate because the spoofing takes place with a lower time frame. I don't know. Well, so the issue with that sort of a thing is like, so for instance, here in the Vista chart, right? It only shows me the close. So if somebody stacked a really big old fatty order on here and then immediately pulled it, you won't see it in the Vista chart, right? I would see it over here in my market depth tape though, right? And that's why my histograms are a little bit different, is that they're intended to catch those sorts of things. that, I made these histograms to catch things that I wasn't able to really, I knew were happening and I could see on the DOM, like just barely, but otherwise were really difficult to see and interpret. So and then when I pop out I want 8 points. So here's the thing is, like, when it was last August, when it was like August of 2019, and the daily range was maybe 5 points, and we were catching eight ticks, it was great, right? When we're going through ranges of like 20, 30, 40 points a day, and we catch 2 points, I'm kind of like, well, I can't make too many conclusions off of that. You prefer Bookmap for its equities abilities? Yeah, the Jigsaw is getting that stuff at some point, I believe, but I haven't really heard a whole lot about that since they've been focused all on charts. But I think that's their next thing, right? Because that level 2 stuff is at some point, or in 2021, my understanding is that level 2 stuff will be available to everybody. Gears says I can't wait for Jigsaw anymore. And besides, I poo-pooed a trade yesterday, and it was bad action. I'm not just doing it because I feel like it. I have a reason. Yeah, it's really close. It's been slow, and it's really close to the open. I think that there will be better opportunities after the open. I wish Ninja would buy Jigsaw so I don't have to change brokers. Well, which broker are you using right now, Rob? Are you using Ninja brokerage? I don't know. I would think it would be the other way around. I wish Jigsaw would buy Ninja so that Ninja could be all broker again, and Okay. Well, 55 is interesting. I just don't want to be holding, like, say we get it in here. You're at Dorman. Well, you're going through Ninja Trader brokerage though. That's your clearinghouse. What's your brokerage? Is your brokerage Dorman, or are you doing Dorman through Ninja Trader? If he gets that 55 before the open, then that's a good trade. The issue that I have right now is 8 minutes to the open, and it's slow, and I don't want to be holding that into the open. I'd rather try and do what I do normally on the opens and try and read that flow and catch something in all that mess. Oh, I was just thinking about that, because I was also wondering, you still do that other room? But don't tell me now, because we should focus. Tell me later. I was just thinking, I was like, we should talk about that later. Yeah, okay. This is going to be an interest. I haven't traded a day like this, a setup like this, in a really long time. And I'm trying to think about it. And I'm like, when was the last time that the E-mini was like stuck in a range like this? Like, I can't, it's been such a long time, right? Well, it's a long story, huh? Oh dear. I gotta get you in because I mean you've given us so much help. I want to put you in there on the so I got the little indicator suite, and if you have the YouTube elite membership to the channel, then there's like an extra Discord room and you get the indicators. And I haven't really built it up a whole lot or anything. I haven't really been pushing it. But I want to get that room going a little bit more, and I feel that because it's like a private room, that we would be able to talk more strategy. And not that I'm saying that you should reveal your strategy to everybody, but that we could start developing some more ideas for strategies, because I've done that a lot with John, and I think that it would be really beneficial, if we had a small number of people, maybe a dozen people, and we're trying to build an algorithm. So I'm trying, so that's part of the reason why I'm like, oh, you got to go and download the thing and get into Discord. Drama. Oh dear. Well, I guess that's unfortunate, but that kind of tends to happen with that sort of a thing, doesn't it? Okay. Still 5 minutes. Man, this is like the longest 10 minutes of my life. It's not, but the moment it kind of feels like it. I'm starting to wonder now. Could we realistically make a backtesting platform through Python for futures? Would building the issue that I have right now is in NinjaTrader, sometimes I want to backtest something really, really big in it, and it like runs out of memory. There's like some issues with the strategy analyzer. Now I've got some more memory coming. So maybe that helps. But I also wonder, what are the chances that I would be able to plug into the Rhythmic Trader Pro API to pull data and then get in, building my own backtesting platform so that I can manage the memory and do really, really big back tests? And what would I want to build that on? And I hate Python. To be honest with you, I hate Python, but it's so popular for machine learning and things like that. I'm kind of thinking, well, if I was going to build something like that, it might be more popular in Python. But then it's like, yeah, but there are some downsides to Python, right? And some of those downsides might be those very things. But I could write it in Rust and make it so that when you write the strategies are in Python, but the platform isn't necessarily. Maybe. I don't know. But it seems to me like that C# has some issues as a backtesting platform because of its high memory usage. Because at a certain point, with a large enough data set, memory becomes a problem. What are the drawbacks of Python? Well, Python is like an interpreted language. So, I mean, you can compile it down to source, but, when you're in Python, you're not like directly manipulating the memory and stuff like that. Like the issue that I think that they're getting into is they'll go through and they'll make some object and they'll say, okay, here, this object is a backtest, and this backtest is going to contain the data for that whole year that you're going to test on and all of the properties and stuff. And then you go into it and then you say, okay, now I have that backtest. I'm just going to set that object aside into an array and come back to it later at the very end to, add together all of the results. And so then I go and I create another backtest. And when you do that, it doesn't release the memory at the end. Man, I wish I wasn't in this trade. Why did you talk me into it, Seth? Anyways, so, and in C#, every object is a little bit bigger than it would be in other languages because there's a lot of metadata information that they stick into every object so that you can do reflection, right? So it would be better to do it in a language like C++ or Rust, where you have a really strong, how do we say, where you can manually manipulate the memory to come in and say, I'm at the end of the back test, these items you destroy now, so that the memory is freed up. And because you don't explicitly do that, you're waiting for the garbage collector to do it in C#. You get into these weird situations in the strategy analyzer where, like, the strategy analyzer is you got 95% memory usage on your system. You see, that algorithm is jacked up. So it always thinks that it needs to VWAP exit, which is kind of weird. I'm just going to turn that off because that's kind of annoying. Okay. Slow. First move is a down move. Down move and a really strong pull push after that. I was worried about that. I think that there could be more people coming in after me, but I would have preferred a better spot. All right, well, that's no good. We'll just wait, I guess. I should have held that tighter to stop on that one, but there's some orders down here at everybody's cost basis. Well, I'm kind of hesitant to do this, but I want to reduce my risk a little bit. It's an okay spot. Haven't really gotten the flip around in volume that I want, but the area is behaving the way that I expect. Are you in short 54? That was fast. Yeah, that's fine. So we're coming back up, getting a pretty good pullback. I'm not seeing the volume completely whip back up to the high end volume though yet. I think that there could be some of that, especially if they can get above 54 or so. Kind of hold that area. 10-year yield is in spot 9.1. Yeah, they've been coming down. There's quite a bit of volume up there. I could probably, yeah. Okay, that got filled. That's good. So now I can just let this one ride. That's not gonna fill, man. Okay, so some profit taking there. We did see that was the volume coming out. Ugh. Crazy shooting star 1 minute candle there. It looks like they're just going to ignore it, but you're getting some, flaky price action there. Fed Powell's speech may be released at the bottom of the hour. No, it was a rumor. It's not true. Maggie Haberman to pen a book about Trump's life and legacy. Okay. Sure, that'll be a great book. She doesn't like him at all. It'll be interesting if Donald Trump's out of office and every book about his presidency still ends up being like big news, which I think will be what happens. Well, it looks pretty tight. I'm sure that we're still getting a lot of rotation, right? I can just noticing here, for instance, that we're seeing some strength in the NASDAQ, right? Sorry, how do I have this spread set up again? Yeah. The ES is weak compared to NQ at the moment. Sometime next year, the 10-year will test 1.25%. The 2 at 10 keeps steepening and will come down. I think you might be right, yeah. I mean, of course, there's some potential for it to come back up to balance and everything, because we have pushed down really hard lately. But I mean, there's reasons that we pushed down really hard lately, and it seems to me that the interest rates want to push it and test the central bank, essentially. Like, they're going to start selling and force the central bank to come in and intervene. Okay, and back to the open. Regular session high. I didn't see like a big stop run, but pretty easy to go through there. Now at 60, there's a pivot, so there's probably more likely to be more stops there. Okay, a little bit of profit taking there. That's okay. Since I got such a great spot, I'm starting to wonder. No rate hikes till 2024. They just increased the balance sheet. Yes. Or yield curve control, right? So like you were saying, the spread is not necessarily going the direction that I think that they would prefer, right? And everybody was hoping for yield curve control for a long time, and then everybody just kind of forgot about it. But I'm starting to wonder now, you know, how long can that go before their hand is going to be forced? Okay, so that little drop there, there was not a slip. I just should know that there was the liquidity providers did take it. So that looks to me more like some sort of a robot created a sell, and maybe some stops involved in that too. And it didn't happen all at once either. It was kind of like, nah. That was really bizarre. I haven't seen something like that before. You know, speaking of the whole rate hike thing, I was reading an article, I think it was on Zero Hedge, but there was discussion about who should be the replacement for Powell at the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure why Biden would be really anxious to get him out, but, they such him. So it would most likely be Boehner, right? And I think that she's the front runner. But there was people saying, oh, let's bring back Yellen. And in the article, they were saying, well, some people don't want Yellen back because she was a hawk. And I'm like, what? What? Like, yeah, she was, even though she never increased rates, she reduced the amount of purchases, much more aggressively than they should have, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess, maybe they have a point there, but I certainly never thought of it that way. Heard a scary number in Fed balance sheet, 40 trillion, 10 to 20 years. Fun. Okay. No, that was a good short to get 2 points. I liked what they did there at the open. Them coming back isn't the end of the world, but they really should have gone much further than they did, suggesting that this market is still very, very range bound. Now on the split side, Robot Ace might take a trade here in a second if they come back up. I'm actually surprised that he didn't take the short. Man, that Treasury just is wants to buy today, huh? Or is being giving me trouble for sure. I'm just gonna give up on the Treasury today. I don't understand what's going on over there. How do you know Robot Ace is a he? It. I'm surprised it didn't take a trade. It might take this one though. This strength in treasuries, it's quite unexpected for me. Well, I mean, the CPI data was favorable to longs, but it never went before. Why is it moving now? So I don't know what's going on over there. The treasury just keeps going. How far can that one go? Are they worried about something? Well, if the dollar's not moving, none of the currencies are going. The 6J is actually falling right now. Huh. Applying 1 hour chart to chop and we're doing nothing. Yeah. Well, it looks like they're going to test this downside again. I probably could have taken a profit up at the open. That would have been great, but they You see this area, it's just slowing down. So I think that what they might do is slip and fall lower, and then so I'm gonna, I'm allowed to do that. Hmm. To watch your VIX levels on the indexes. Bonds markets are in dislocation ranges are important. Yeah. Well, are you saying, Gary, you're not expecting a breakout anytime soon? When you look at it, it comes down to that lows, and I'm sure that everybody is sitting here thinking, they're going to touch that low, and there's going to be a little bit of chaos, and maybe they go to that last pivot low around 44. But then I look at the positioning, and I'm like, there's probably going to be some people trying to defend this after they break it, right? Well, that's not the way that you want to see that go if you're a bear. Could still do it though. Let's see. Okay. Missed it. It's okay. Okay. Okay, that's a good run right there. Very good, and quite a volume imbalance as well associated with it. Almost 60%, in fact. So that's really good for us. Oh, almost. There we go. Very, very good. There's nothing to justify markets going to all-time highs and keep pushing outside. The downside is greater. Oh, wait. So I need to read back further. They were accumulating shorts from the U.S. Open 5 points. That's an A straight. There's nothing to justify markets going to all-time highs. I read that. Magnetism and equity traders, be very careful. More companies will issue debt selling stock. Theme to watch in 2021. More pain to come. Oh, that's an interesting point, Gary. But do they actually have to sell stock to issue debt? Because, well, I mean, I don't know. There's got to be some sort of a baseline for that, right? Like there would be like, on average, when you issue debt, you do X things to as collateral for it, like selling stock, and then in this new situation, it'll be like this much more. What does a guy have to do to catch a runner? I don't know if we're going to catch like a true runner. I think that we could see a move up to the 60 level again on the upside, and then beyond that, you're expecting a breakout, and that might not be a reasonable. But that's why I'm trying to campaign it here down here. Now this one, well, it went a little bit higher there. That's good. Canceling out the pivot. That's good. Bloomberg. Central banks short on ammo are forced to rely on governments. Fiscal policy now seen as more vital to spur economic rebound. Central bank could face long-term credibility questions. That's interesting. Story. But if that's the story that would be driving the action right now, then wouldn't the treasuries be going down? It's kind of hard. Oh, Scott Adams does YouTube live stream now. That's cool. I don't know. Whenever I'm thinking about what Gary is saying, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. I'm not too sure if any of that is like a key factor in this very moment, but I think it makes a lot of sense that. Okay, let's take this one off here for a bit. I mean, my readings are working well. It's just a question of how do you, what is the best way to take advantage of it? See, yeah, I'm really glad I took the profit off that one. So now I'm thinking, okay, are they going to go lower? But I'm still not entirely sure that today we're just going to get like a trend, like a breakout on the downside or not. I guess we can just kind of wait and see. USD JPY trades new session lows but can't keep the momentum going. Let's see here. It's almost the top of the hour. There was a long. I guess McConnell is meeting with Pelosi, and he is not going to be relying on Secretary Mnuchin to do that. I don't like the way that. That's weird. My squawk is saying that we're about to get the bill auction, but my calendar here says that that's not for another 90 minutes. It must be the amount that they are going to offer. I should have taken that. Okay. You think you're done for the day? I don't know. I just got a really good one off your signal there, Ace. I'm going to take 16 on it if I can. In fact, I might just... If I'm getting stickiness here. Well, with the way the Treasury is moving up though, man. Ooh. Not too much stickiness. I'm just going to be cautious. Well, there you go. But look, the Treasury, look, it's a 5K at 138. And there's some stacking coming in here too. I guess it's just all about the auction. I don't know, why does they got 8-week bill auction? Mine has it at a different time. Let's go to Treasury Direct. Yeah, that must be the amount that they're going to be auctioning off, because the actual auction doesn't happen until 9:30, according to treasurydirect.gov. That is one that I've never heard. Look at the E-mini just turning so incredibly tight. We are seeing a little bit of that rotation between the NASDAQ and the E-mini. I can't read it now. Oh, yeah, you're saying you can't read the action. I get you what you're saying. Huh. US sells 38 billion 8-week bills at a high rate of spot 9%, awards 9, spot 18% of bids at the high. Well, this is interesting. My squawk is giving me information that I normally would not get. So now I'm going to have to go and learn what it all means. Oh, this E-mini is okay. So it's getting really, really slow, but it is below the seller's cost basis for this session. So it's not until we get 55.75 or so. Man, they just sat right at the moving average for a long time, didn't they? Stocktwit saying, remember the value trade? That was fun for one day. Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to keep thinking about 2016. Because I remember in 2016, that election, there was a lot of reasons to be concerned about the market before the election. And then after Donald Trump was elected, it was like all the problems just went away. And, all of a sudden we were back up at all-time highs. And it just kept going. It just kept going. And it was like, how? It was just the most insane market rally I had ever seen. It was just up every day. All you had to do was buy. It didn't matter where you did it. You just buy. It just went and went and went and went. And yeah, I was just like, I think back on that and I'm like, well, okay. I mean, it seems like a little unreasonable that the markets would rally here, but I've seen crazier. You know what I mean? Oh, you took one? You took one? Okay. I did not like that. I can't believe that you took that one at 53. Like, I don't know how you determine which direction to go off of that one. Fauci says help is on the way with. Who cares what Fauci says anymore? Why is he still reporting what he says? Like, he's having like a feud with the guy that's in charge now, Dr. Atlas. He's not going to be in the new administration, I don't think. He might get fired any day. He might get fired any day more now. Warren urges Biden to cancel student debt. Can he do that? I was researching a little bit about that the other day, about can Biden issue an executive order to cancel the student debt? I don't think he can, but I don't think Warren would say that if she didn't think that he could. Student debt. Could Biden cancel student debt with executive order? Oh, here's exactly what I'm looking for, Forbes. Okay. While President-elect Biden begins preparing for his transition to the White House, advocates for student loan borrowers are already pressing him to take quick action, even if it means bypassing Congress. And they're coming up there now. Now I'm like, oh, it should be long still. I could have, after I took my profit on that and it came back down there again, I could have gone long in the 50 area. I had a really good spot down there, right? And it is kind of forming an ascending triangle, and now it is like buyer control. Well, I hate buying up like this, but okay. $1.56 trillion. There'd be some really interesting consequences if they actually did that to the markets, wouldn't there? Hmm. No, we hit into an iceberg. Yeah. Guess you should expect that at 138, huh? Hmm. Yeah, how thick it is at 05, though. The Richard says to cancel student debt would take some legislation. Student debt is owed to the banks. The federal government acts as guarantor. But they clearly think they can, right? He could extend the moratorium on payments, that's for sure. The senators pointed to a provision in the Higher Education Act that they argue provides broad authority to the president via the Secretary of Education to cancel student debt. Congress, through the Higher Education Act, has already given the president and his Secretary of Education the ability to modify, compromise, waive, or release student loans, the senator wrote. This authority provides a safety valve for federal student loan programs, letting their secretary use her discretion to wipe away loans. Other consumer advocates and student loan experts have argued that using this executive authority to cancel student debt is perfectly legal. We have consulted the statutory and regulatory framework governing federal student loan programs administered by the Department of Education, as well as the framework and controlling interpretations of the budgetary structure of these programs. We conclude that this proposal calls for a lawful and permissible exercise of the Secretary's authority under existing law. A coalition of civil rights organizations has expressed support for broad student loan forgiveness as the economy reels, jobs remain hard to come by. But not everyone agrees that the executive authority provided under the Higher Education Act would permit the president to enact broad student loan forgiveness. It's possible that such executive action could face legal challenges on the basis that it exceeds the authority granted by Congress, although it is unclear whether any such challenge would be viable given the Act's broad language. Any such broad debt cancellation would also have limitations. For example, only federal student loans held by the government would be eligible due to the limitations of federal statute. Biden would likely not have any power to cancel private student loans using executive authority under the Higher Education Act. I think you would need to make fundamental changes to the university loan systems if you're going to bail out student debt so you don't end up in the same place later on, says Lucas. Biden could lower the interest rate is low already. Yeah, RJ, what fun for those parents who paid for their kids, or worse, the kids that held these jobs to pay off debt, right? Like my brother, he because of the moratorium, he hasn't been paying his student loans, and he's set to make serious bank if they do this. And I mean like serious bank. And that's one of the things that I find incredibly scary about it, is that it really would help the people that need it the least. And yeah. But more so than that, where was it? What did you say exactly earlier? I think, Richard, to cancel student debt would take some legislation. The student debt is owed to banks/lenders. The federal government acts as guarantor. So if those banks, do the banks lose money on that? Or does the government just pay the banks for what's not paid back? Right? Because if it's just canceled and the banks have to eat it, who would ever give out student loans again after that? The banks would not lose. The government would have to pay banks. Obvious, the banks never lose. There you go. Of course, yeah. I would prefer an answer that was based on the law or what it is that they're going to do. They would pay the banks back, but I'm gonna say I think that they probably would pay the banks back, but we haven't proven that. Even then, at that point, why would you as a bank want to take on student loans after that?
Block cell.
He just wants social justice academia to bail him out if the Supreme Court charges him with voter fraud. They're going to need to put on a third shift at the Treasury printing press just to make more money. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. Okay, I took that off because of some big iceberging that I saw there. It looks like they're going to continue up. I can see, based on the VIX, a possibility for them to continue up into the 70s and 80s, in fact. Well, the overnight high would not be a bad spot, though. Yep. Like up in the 68 area. For me, though, I think that was 100, right? Yeah. Oh, well, it's not quite. Oh, that first one I only took 15 off of. That's good. Oh, and I did get this short too in the Treasury. That was a good pick. There you go. The banks have been out of student loan business since 2010. The banks are so hamstrung from regulation. Well, that's not true, right? Well, maybe you're right. They is the government making the loans directly now, or they had some other organization doing it and it's not the banks anymore? I haven't, I've been following it, but I just don't remember. I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, well, I can remember reading so many stories about it, but I don't remember any of it. Well, let's go back to the Forbes article. Any such broad debt cancellation would have limitations. For example, only federal student loans held by the government would be eligible due to the limitations of federal statute. Okay, so there's one that I understand that now after we've talked about it. So there are loans that the government is holding directly. It's not just guarantor of. Biden would likely not have any power to cancel private student loans using executive authority under the Higher Education Act. If Biden does proceed with executive action to cancel student debt, there also may be limitations on the amount of debt that would be forgiven. During his presidential primary campaign, Biden pushed back against a broad proposal put forth by Bernie Sanders to cancel all outstanding federal student loans. Meanwhile, Senators Warren and Schumer called on $50,000 in across-the-board cancellation of federal student loan debt, while other congressional Democrats have suggested broad student loan forgiveness in the range of $10,000 to $30,000 per borrower. There could be additional restrictions attached to any student loan forgiveness enacted by the Biden administration as well. During his campaign, Biden proposed forgiving all undergraduate federal student loans with annual incomes under $125,000 who attended public colleges and universities, as well as historically black colleges and universities, private minority-serving institutions. So it is conceivable that the executive action forgiving student loans could restrict eligibility based on income, school attendance, or both. However, Biden does not necessarily have to limit his actions to across-the-board student loan forgiveness. He could supplement broad student debt cancellation. I'm getting a lot of clicks now here. I took that off at 61.75. Really? That was a good pick. If they turned back down, that was a good pick. I mean, it was an easy pick because I saw thousands trading there, and I thought, well, somebody else is taking profits. I guess we might as well. You guys, I can't keep up with all the comments. I'm going to keep reading. Biden has proposed improving public student loan forgiveness by allowing incremental loan forgiveness over the course of a 10-year program, rather than having borrowers complete 10 years of employment before obtaining any relief. This could provide near immediate relief to tens of thousands of student loan borrowers who are on track for that program. Biden also expressed strong support for Borrowers Defense Repayment Program. Uh-oh. Pelosi and Schumer are holding a press conference. This should be entertaining. Skip ads.
So stop the circus and get to work on what really matters to the American people, their health and their economic security. With that, I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished Democratic leader of the Senate, Mr. Schumer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's good to be back. Now, good morning. This is a moment of great national challenge. COVID-19 is surging. Small businesses are shuttering. Families are struggling. People continue to...
Why don't we forgive people's mortgages, issue everyone a free anything, a bunch of bozos in D.C.? All right. Well, I don't doubt that they might try to do it, but I think that the consequences of doing it would be really
so that we can fight
quite
COVID-19.
Chaotic.
Republicans in Congress are spreading conspiracy theories, denying reality, and poisoning the well of our democracy. The Republicans should stop their shenanigans about an election that President Trump has already lost and focus their attention on the immediate issue at hand, providing relief to a country living through the COVID health and economic crisis.
I'll tell you what, Schumer, how about Donald Trump continue to do his thing, and congressional Republicans and people in Congress can continue to do their thing, and then everybody can be happy.
Neither does the president. Congressional Republicans are deliberately casting doubt on our elections for no other reason but fear of Donald Trump. These Republicans are all auditioning for profiles in cowardice.
No, I think they're pushing it because they really do think that there was fraud.
The election is over.
Someone cough on.
President Trump lost.
Let's not say things like that.
President of the United States, Kamala Harris, will be the next Vice President of the United States. Senate Republicans, stop denying reality. Stop deliberately and recklessly sowing doubt about our democratic process, and start focusing on COVID. The Republican refusal to deal with reality is hurting our country.
Don't you think that if you're concerned about Republicans, reducing public confidence in elections, that the best way to improve the public's confidence in the elections would be to have a complete, full, honest, open investigation into it and to prosecute any possible investigate and prosecute any possible instances of fraud, and to recount all of these places where they say that vote tabulations were made incorrectly by computers and so on and so forth. Well, don't you think that that would do a lot more to improve people's confidence about the election system rather than just forcing everybody to stop talking about it?
The Electoral College has been secured by several states where tens of thousands of votes separate the candidates. Joe Biden leads in Wisconsin by 20,000.
And they came back down there pretty good, didn't they?
46,000. That's the fact.
That move up did move the cost basis, so like people bought into that.
Republicans or Trump can do will change.
You don't think Schumer can hear me?
All over the country, legal claims by the president and his Republican allies are being laughed at of court. The New York Times pulled election officials from both parties in every state in the country. Not one reported any evidence of fraud or irregularity.
You're waiting for what? YouTube videos are not evidence? Why are they not?
Snowball's chance in hell of succeeding.
I think that if you have video evidence of somebody ripping up a ballot, that should at the very least trigger local authorities to investigate. But the issue here is, of course, I mean, you would think the FBI would be all over this. You don't hear anything from the FBI, and you're not going to hear the Republicans say anything about that because the Republicans think the FBI is in on it.
American people are waiting for relief from the COVID virus. But Republicans...
If I make a video showing how to run my house off of AA batteries, does that make it true? Okay, but if you made a video showing you doing something that is illegal, I would at the very least expect people to investigate it.
It's laser focused on health care issues that are...
No, your examples aren't good comparisons because none of those are doing illegal things.
Support for hospitals at a time when COVID is raging. Healthcare money, Medicaid expansion should be at the very top of the list.
I'm saying that if you film yourself doing something that's illegal, that I would expect the authorities to investigate it. Yes.
Not an emaciated bill that prioritizes...
Well, the Treasuries came back up there.
...considers the needs of American families as an afterthought. Every day that goes by without the Republican Party acknowledging and accepting the results of this election is another day Americans...
Okay, so we should arrest all actors who robbed a bank in a movie. Well, okay, but we're talking about a YouTube video. If you had a video of yourself robbing a bank up on YouTube, and there was nothing in the video that made it obvious that it was just a joke, then I would expect local authorities to investigate it.
6 months been a formula for crushing the virus.
That video that we got, is not obvious that it's a joke from the video.
Our first
he says that it was a joke. But, so shouldn't local authorities investigate that one?
People who make our economy and our society work. As I said earlier, over 1 million teachers have already lost their jobs.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that a video like that might be enough to get a warrant, a search warrant or something, you know, or a subpoena.
And this is almost sinful. Crushing the...
Are you gonna let her talk again?
At the time of a pandemic, instead of crushing the virus, they want to crush the Affordable Care Act, as was demonstrated in the Supreme Court the other day. And a very important point, among many others, that the leader made about the expansion of Medicaid.
And she's talking about the Affordable Care Act.
Many seniors, this is a middle-income benefit, middle-income family benefit.
So that doesn't sound like that there's really a focused purpose here other than to try and bash Republicans, which we should expect, but
Medicaid.
I would rather there be market-moving news in there, you know.
But an overwhelming amount of it goes to help middle-class families.
President Trump will launch a media company? I think he should.
Again, part of the Affordable Care Act, that not fully implemented by some states, but again, under siege.
Search what? What would you like them to search for? So I think in an instance like that, you could interview the individual in question.
Healthcare, preventive care, and protecting the
You could seek,
right down the drain with the president's case.
you know, maybe there is surveillance footage from the areas that he was at. He was claiming that he was in Amazon. What makes you think that they haven't done all that? I guess I didn't say that they haven't.
Not just
We have no evidence that they have.
50 million more people, and that's a blessing. But the 150 million families who have private health care, health insurance.
I don't, you know, so here's the thing. Okay. The Republican Party has collected over 200 affidavits alleging illegal election activities. And these all range from 1 vote to thousands of votes. And we're talking about hundreds of affidavits, legal affidavits that you can go to court for, right? And so here's my question. Where's law enforcement coming out and saying, we're looking into this one or we're looking into that one? They're not. You're not hearing that.
High levels of protection.
If they're doing it, they're not publicizing it. In fact, the only thing that I've seen law enforcement do has been to interview the guy that claims that the post office was backdating ballots, and they interviewed the guy to try and convince him to recant it. And then after they claimed that he recanted it, he came back out on YouTube again and said that he didn't recant. And they're still saying that he did. And there's this, which I'm like, listen, if he's coming out afterwards and he's saying I don't recant, then I don't think he recants.
Embrace a vaccine.
Right.
The vaccine will be the more.
I'll need to see the paperwork on that claim. Well, you can go and find it on the White House, I believe. The McKinney released all of that stuff yesterday.
So that everybody.
And they say that they have a lot more coming. Man, this comes back up and stops me out. I just don't understand what's going on in the Treasury at all.
To doing the right thing.
I feel so dumb that I even tried it again.
For respecting what it's doing to America's families, as I'll close with Martin Luther King, who said of all of the inequalities, the inequality of access to
Anyways, I feel like that a legal affidavit of a witness claiming that they saw fraud occur would qualify as evidence.
Not changed since where it was before the election. Is that a fair characterization?
He's sitting on the floor.
Where you are in coronavirus, is that not changed since before the election? Is that
It
fair?
has been our position all along to crush the virus, honor our heroes, put money in the pocket.
It's been their position all along to crush the virus.
Have the administration saying, well, we have just made a light touch on their language.
What do you mean you have no evidence for that claim, Ace?
Which addresses what we were trying to do for people of communities of color. So yeah, no, we're at that same place, even more so with the pandemic, because look at these numbers. Look at these numbers. Look at the predictions from the scientific community. You know, I've come before you over and over again. Some weeks ago with Frank Pallone saying, this is what we put in the HEROES Act. Why won't they do it? They were in their herd mentality, herd immunity mood then.
Let's see if I can find it.
One more thing. One more thing. Given how COVID is raging, the number of hospitalizations, the number of deaths is increased. It makes the health care provisions in the HEROES Act even more important and more vital that they be included.
Good morning, thank you both. That said, though, you both called for the passage of the HEROES Act. It doesn't seem like there's any more of a path to get to 60 votes in the Senate to get closer there. And by that same score here, it seems as though in the House, your position on the larger bill, you would have a weaker hand to play in the lame duck Congress. If that's not the case, tell me why it's not.
Well, I think that the most compelling argument of what I said earlier, 144,000 people yesterday, and these people are spread all over the country. the pressure on hospitals all over the country, including in rural areas. So if
Let's see here.
Republicans want to be cold-hearted and say they don't care, or as the president's son said, 225,000, I think at that time, that's no big number kind of thing. No, every single one of those deaths is important to us. We carry those people in our hearts. And they should be carrying them on their conscience for what they did not do. Since we passed the bill, the HEROES Act, over 100,000 more people have died. That could have been prevented. So, again, you've heard me say it a million times, Chad, public sentiment is everything. And now that the people have expressed their views, Joe Biden has won.
I really hate it when news websites talk about something and don't link you to the primary source.
With that success, what they have been proposing is very similar to what we have in the HEROES Act. And we just have to fight to make sure that if the Republicans decide that they don't care about the health and well-being, about Medicaid and what it means to people in their lives.
U.S. Senate's Democratic leader Schumer says that the House-passed relief bill should be a starting point.
Maybe if I search for it with PDF.
McConnell is sticking to his emaciated bill, which he's tried twice and didn't get a Republican vote. That's sort of a non-starter. And then he said, because we have a vaccine, there's even less need for a bill. Vaccine makes greater need for a bill because it has to be distributed fairly and equitably, and there needs to be education that it's healthy and everything else. Second, the biggest change since Election Day is that Donald Trump, who was not for helping us in COVID, who was against the HEROES bill, has lost.
Do you have an insider info news like scoop? No.
So yes, we think there has been change. It should move things in our direction. We're willing to
here we go.
talk. They haven't wanted to talk. They seem to have stuck to their
Okay.
position.
This one has links. Okay, here you go.
So what Joe Biden
Here is now your proof.
was a mandate.
If you go to the top of that page, there are 4 links. They will link you to 243 pages of affidavits from individuals alleging witnesses
In order to do that, we need
alleging voter fraud.
the COVID.
That is evidence admissible in court.
Maybe more a referendum on who can handle COVID well.
Oh, hang on, got bus duty.
The Trump approach was repudiated. The Joe Biden approach was embraced. And that's why we think there's a better chance to get a bill in the lame duck. If only the Republicans would stop embracing the ridiculous shenanigans
Of course, they come back down after I get out.
in the election.
The Treasury is just like really squeezing me every time. I don't get it.
Speaker Pelosi, in 2000, Democrat Al Gore was allowed to press his legal challenge against George W. Bush in Florida for 37 days. Do you think the same type of patience should be afforded to President Trump in his legal challenges?
Let me in fact say what Dick Cheney said at the time. In 2000, the
Just quoting Dick Cheney.
agreement caused many difficulties. The Bush administration was outspoken about about what was happening in the country. And as the leadership,
There's a lot of click in there and a lot of volume going through in the E-mini.
we're talking about one
It's a pretty big iceberg there.
Cheney said on November 27th, we will pay a heavy price for delays in planning and assembly of the next administration. And I don't think this, the Biden.
There are large orders. I mean, they're not.
Vice
They're
President,
like 300 lots.
the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, the chairman of the Judiciary.
Kind of all happened when we first were starting to come down at the big one, and now it's doing it again. So
Just fine in the transition. He's going to be just fine in the transition. It's most unfortunate. That
being lectured by any of these politicians makes me sick.
respect the will of the people. And let me just say,
Well, here's what this really comes down to, right?
it's like the house.
They want more coronavirus stimulus. I'm kind of sitting here wondering, okay, like how much money are you going to pump into this thing? Because the market is like at an all-time high. And you're saying that like the house is burning down is what she's saying right now, right?
Promise is
They want to do another lockdown.
reason.
Like they really do. She says they want to crush the virus. Is what the phrase that she keeps using. The top health official in Joe Biden's campaign, and I don't know if he'll become a cabinet member or a task force member or whatever. But this guy who quite frankly seems quite extreme to me, is straight up said that he wants to do a 4 to 6 week lockdown. Yeah, and we said many times this election really comes down to whether or not you want another lockdown, and the people that want another lockdown are going to vote for Joe Biden. I think that's what happened. I really do.
That are contained in how it's being spread and the rest. Thank you all.
If you have another 4 to 6 week lockdown like that, I think it's going to be disastrous. So, of course, they're going to need more money. And they're going to have to, attack the Republicans to try and get anything, Because the Republicans aren't going to just keep putting this in. The Republicans are just going to say, hey, look, you're president. Like, it's your problem. That's what they're going to, I think that's what they're going to do. Well, anyways. Patrick L. Oh, I'm going to have to delete that comment. That's the first time in a while that I have to actually delete a comment. Ooh, something's going on here. They are squeezing really hard. Well, they did make a new high, but look, it wasn't a stop run or anything. So one of the issues that I see here is normally you want to see them push it up to the stop zone, but because of how tight it's been today and everything, and how much profit taking there has been through the thing, there's not really a realistic stop line. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can't move up. It just means that I don't really have a very good idea of where they would potentially get to. Keep that one up. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Now, here's the thing that drives me crazy about the lockdown. So, did you see this article yesterday from JP Morgan? Well, it wasn't from, it was on Zero Hedge, and Zero Hedge was quoting JP Morgan research. And the conclusion from the JP Morgan analysts was essentially that lockdown doesn't do anything. It seems to me, when you look in Sweden, for instance, Sweden didn't have a national lockdown, and their strategy was essentially herd immunity. But the reality is that the people locked down. The people locked down themselves. They were social distancing and doing all that stuff on their own. So when you look at it from that perspective, if people do the right thing on their own, then the only real purpose of a lockdown is to increase government power, isn't it? That's kind of where I've arrived. If they do a national lockdown, which is unconstitutional, I'm I really don't think they should do it, and I don't think people will go along with it. They have many more dead before we have in Denmark because of their strategy. These are facts. So go and look at their analysis. In Australia, the lockdowns didn't work on their own, really. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Stick, right? Like, they never really got bad in Australia, but they implemented a really furious lockdown, and then they ended up having to do it again. The issue with a lockdown is that if you don't end up doing it during the real peak, in the spot where it really helps, then what ends up happening is you just end up having a spike later, and then you don't have any credibility because it didn't actually crush the virus. Now, the whole thing about there's more dead people in Denmark, first of all, that wasn't Denmark's strategy. It was Sweden that did that. Denmark was the one that was the worst. Now, the one thing that they are kind of getting from Denmark, though, is that even though they got it pretty bad in Denmark, they don't appear to have herd immunity either, right? But I think that the data that I've seen your last sentence. Wait, which last one did I say? Well, anyways, I'm just saying I don't think that the analysts at JP Morgan are, conspiracy theorists, guys. And they say that there appears to be no measurable effect on the trajectory of the disease. In other words, it doesn't slow it down. And I'm saying it's probably because people self shut down. They stopped going to the store, and they've been more cautious, even if the government didn't make it a law. And so the end result of a shutdown is it increases government power and it hurts the economy more. But it doesn't seem to slow the spread anymore. At least not in areas where there was, actual real breakouts. The one exception would probably be New Zealand, where they shut down when there was like only 2 people that had it. And then they shut the country down, like they shut down all travel, so there's like no way they can possibly get it. Just joined the New World Order and the Illuminati. As traders, we were part of the New World Order. Just embrace it. Well, technically we are, yeah. Don't you think at some point, though, that the New World Order would also have an interest in not doing a lockdown if it doesn't do anything? I don't know about that one. It just seems right now in my mind that Joe Biden is almost certainly going to do a lockdown. See, colors are hot mess. How much time do we got? Well, we got some more time. I've kind of been avoiding this since we had that last move up. We are kind of getting like a pretty good uptrend going. But man, that last down move was pretty extreme. There was some real volume just like bailing. I wonder if that was like panicked profit taking or something of that nature. And then you get this thing right here. The last one. The last guy bailing out. There's a little bit of liquidity driving it there too.
At 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the US EIA crude oil inventories. Forecast minus 0.913 million.
Sorry, I just...
minus 7.998 million.
I'm not sure there's anything more to say. Well, I guess we didn't finish our thing on school, did we?
4 million. Previous minus 1 spot.
New Zealand wants to completely eradicate with very strict restrictions, while Australia, on the other hand, is sticking to just keeping it under control and doing what we can to slow it down.
1 million. US crude oil inventories highest estimate.
Well, and in a country like, I mean, in the United States, crushing the virus really seems quite foolish. There's no way that you're going to crush the virus. Never let a good crisis go to waste. You're right. It's going to be an interesting, if they go forward with it, it's going to be an interesting battle, man. I mean, here's the thing. Number one, if they should be shutting down, it's probably, December. Donald Trump's not going to do it. So then we get into January and they want to impose a lockdown. So then at that point, the question is going to be who's going to go along with it and who doesn't, because not every state is going to go along with it. Like North Dakota is not going to go along with it, right? North Dakota is going to lead the fight. That governor up there. Utah, I think that the new Utah governor will. And I think there are going to be a lot of people in Utah that are going to be very upset about it. Because Utah's done pretty okay. Like, they didn't have a statewide shutdown, and, a lot of our economy is tech anyways, and yeah, we've weathered it pretty well in Utah. Well, if they do another lockdown and then it really starts affecting people. But I guess the reason why it's all relevant, I saw the Utah governor, he made a statewide mask order here. Yeah. This one I think is so dumb though. Like, everybody's making this claim that, the reason why the number of cases in Utah is so high is because you guys haven't been wearing your masks. You're selfish, yada, yada. I don't see anybody out and about without masks on. They literally won't let you into the store without a mask, man. It's just what's happened is that we've been told something that's frankly not true. Indiana is going county to county for shutdown next week. Anyways, they believe something that's frankly not true, and now they think that that's like the thing that you got to do, and they're missing the thing that actually matters, which is protecting the vulnerable population. I like the masks. There are a lot of people with terrible teeth and their breath stinks. Man, I'm just thinking back on the Treasury and like what do I got to do to get a better trade on the Treasury? I find it very frustrating how often it has evaded me. I've been able to get a few good trades out of it from time to time, but it'll be like I'll have a really good one going and I've got 2 ticks out of it, and then they'll bring it back up and they'll just pull the liquidity. And there's no way to know they're going to do it or not. It's almost like they could be watching and doing it just to push me out of the position. The behavior wouldn't be any different. Anyways, a little whining there from me. But those I'm still on experimental account for Treasuries because it's still I can't. Yeah. It's like I look at this chart here.
From the Italian Health Ministry, Italy records 37,978 new coronavirus cases.
Are positive on our E-mini trades and negative on our treasury trades.
Coronavirus.
Okay, we're going up here. What if I had bought it right here? Then I think that what would have happened is that the treasury would have come all the way down here first, and then they would have gone up. You know? Like you can't win with as tight of a stop as you want.
The US EIA crude oil inventory.
I could have taken 2 ticks, I guess, but
0.9.
and this one is going. Like that's what really makes me mad.
998 million.
That's why I'm noticing it right now.
Inventories forecast -1.8.
Anyways, no school.
Minus 1.585 million. US EIA
Yeah, you would if they did like a student forgiveness thing. I think you would almost have no choice but to go to socialized university at that point, right? That the government pays for all university education, which would be pretty bum deal actually for you, because it would turn into, you know, it really would be like your grades and stuff are going to determine where you get in. And
6 coronavirus related deaths today, and versus 623 reported deaths yesterday.
People think treasuries are safer because they are slower, but their danger resides in the spread to profit ratio. I'm not quite 100% sure what you mean by that, Tom. I think that they are safer because it's easier to manage your risk. In these instances, I haven't really been really babysitting them is part of it. But it does seem like that the spread on it is like not what it appears. You know, like if I want to get short right now and see it come back to 27.5, you know, I could go short right here. But something seems to be suggesting to me that there's actually a spread that you can't see, and even though there's all of these orders right here, they will actually pull all of the way up and stop you out first. The liquidity games are always worse on auction games days. That's probably a really good point, Octavius. And it does, well, I don't know. Do you think that whole move up was because of the auction, though? Because I don't see why it would be. Especially since recently the auctions haven't been very good. So now why would all of a sudden the bill auctions be like really great and push us up? I don't get that. I keep jumping between subjects now, huh? I need to switch over here. Focus, Seth, focus. Bonds don't always diversify equity risk, though that's true. Sometimes they go in odd directions. But you're right. It's a liquidity game. It's like knowing the right spot in the E-mini. Well, I mean, it's a problem in the E-mini too, isn't it? It hasn't been a problem today, but it often has been, and that's where I've had some problems. It's the fat tail problem. The probability of you getting a really strong move in what is essentially the wrong direction. I'm going to say it's the wrong direction. Well, okay, here, good example, Zian. Come back over here. Okay.
1 minute remaining. I'll be reading the US EIA crude oil inventories first and the rest.
We have the benefit of foresight. So what is the right direction? Long. What are the chances that this is going to happen right here? Where you get in and there's going to be this big little collapse against you and then it continues on. What are the chances that that's going to happen? And when that happens, you might be thinking, oh, now we can go short. But then it comes right back up against you. because we don't really know what's pushing it up. So that kind of really complicates it, right? Well, there's fat tails, right? Yeah, that's not a good drawing.
10 seconds.
Normally, if it was a Gaussian distribution, it would be like this. But it is, in reality, it is like this.
4 spot 278 million, 4 spot 278
And
million.
these
On the forecast of minus 0 spot 913 million. US EIA distillate inventory
are the little moves.
354 million minus 5 spot 354.
These are the little moves that really screw us over.
Spot 864 million.
What is the chances of those moves happening?
2 spot
Actually really high.
9 million minus 2.
Actually really high.
9 million.
Relatively speaking. High enough that if you can't deal with them, it's going to take all your profits away. There was one day on ZB where my limit order was sitting 5 ticks down from the best bid, and a big order swoops us all up, and the price instantly goes back to where it was. Instant 6 ticks. Oh, wow. I've maybe had something like that happen when it was like really fast action, but not just sitting there. They just want to sit and wait on their limit orders. Well, yeah, that's the issue, is like they can pull them. Oh. So like you think you got a spot, and it's not the spot, and then they pull it 4 ticks up against you, and then like there's a bunch of different things that can happen from there though, right? Like sometimes it moves up like that because the liquidity pulled, and it's the reason that the offers are pulling is because something that we don't know about, but they don't want to hold it for a reason, and so it goes, and that's like the start of a trend. But there's also times where it just pulls, and that's just to get people to go long, and then they smack it back down.
After the US EIA releases, we are seeing some downside movement on,
and there's not really any way to know which one they're doing. Well, I'm sure there is. I guess the reason I'm talking about it is I'm trying to think it through my head and trying to figure out what is the best way to deal with this problem.
Amazon says that it's 700,000 square foot site.
Why do they pull them?
New full-time.
Well, sometimes I know.
AMZ.
Sometimes I know because of certain news or whatever the direction is that they pull them. Why? And sometimes you can see, oh, okay, they pulled it because they wanted people to sell because they wanted more contracts, or they wanted to be filled down there. That certainly happens.
Deputy Governor Sir Cunliffe banking system
but that's kind of like after the fact analysis, you know what I mean? A lot of the time when they pull them, I don't know why. The only thing that I know is that for whatever reason in that exact moment, the market maker was not interested in taking on contracts at that price.
So just coming off of that US
Okay, you're ready for
US
evidence. No. There's 234 pages.
Estimate figure. The maximum estimate.
You can go and read them. I'm sure that some of them are going to be
The
nonsense.
actual figure came out at 4.27. Sorry.
They link to the PDF, so you can read 234 pages, I believe. I don't know if that links to all of them or just some of them, but handwritten affidavits from individuals claiming voter fraud.
910 million. So that's the difference.
And the GOP says that they have thousands more claims that they are reviewing still. So that would be evidence. That would be admissible in court. Right? Would it flip it? I don't know. Probably not. What's your daily P&L? You know, I don't really do it that way, ELMS. The thing is that I kind of know based on the there's kind of like a daily cycle of the market, you know? And so I'm much more of a, you know, there's certain times or types of moves that I want to trade in. I'm going to get so many of them. And so there's really no limit to how much I could make on them. But, if it was a good day, so today, where did that go? If we just show the E-mini trades, because Treasuries was obviously a disaster. Come on. Yeah, it doesn't. There you go. I made 88 today, minus the commissions. This doesn't show the commissions. 100 would be like an averagely good day. If I made 200 in a day, that'd be like really good. Now today I used multiple contracts, so you also got to keep that in mind. That's probably twice as much as I probably would have made if I was just doing the one.
And for those of you who would like to read Bank of England's Deputy Governor Cunliffe's,
but I don't really do a daily target.
Investors on market liquidity and financial stability, you can do so by clicking the link that we've just provided for you on the Financial Juice newsfeed.
That's the idea. Get this tied up and get past the cert dates. Well, I have no way with that one. I really don't know what I would even look at to figure out how that works.
For those of you who would like to read the US EIA crude oil inventory report, you can do so by...
What do you mean? No, my source...
On the Financial Juice newsfeed.
My source is the Donald Trump campaign.
We'll set out a comprehensive work plan to deal with problems at funds during March.
My source is a government website. Where are you getting that? Where are you getting the Epic Times? I've never visited that website before, actually. I hear people pushing it because of their map, but who cares? Look at this. This is a court document. It's been filed in U.S. courts. There are 234 pages.
Facts giving Biden access to classified briefings.
I don't understand. Why isn't that count? No, what was a Zero Hedge website? And we'll post it again. Are they reposting in the Epic Times article? I guess they might be. No? Oh, it's authored by somebody from the Epic Times. You're right. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But it's not relevant. The source is they have the evidence. They have the 4 PDFs here. No, it's not relevant, Ace. But just because I'm linking you to somebody that has the primary source and you don't like where it's coming from doesn't change the validity of the primary source. The primary source that we are discussing in this particular case is federal court. Right? Did you actually click the come here? I'll show you. I have it up. Here we are. Here's the article. Exhibit 1. Here you go. Look. You have the case number, all of the identifying stuff that they put in for court documents. There you go. Exhibit 1. I am personally familiar with the facts stated in this affidavit, and if sworn as a witness, am competent to testify to them as well. I am a registered voter in the state of Michigan. I was a poll challenger for Wayne County, Michigan at the TCF Center on November 4th, 2020. I challenged 10 votes at table 23. They would not take at the log to record my challenges. I had to write names and ballot numbers on my own. I asked to make incident reports. They would not allow me and said they will make a note in the computer. They did not and proceeded to keep counting. Okay? This is not a frivolous loss. This is an affidavit, somebody that was there writing a legal court document that is admissible in court alleging voter fraud. Why doesn't that count? It's filed in fucking federal court, dude. Like, do you think that we just drew this and made it up? You can go and pay the money to get access to the federal court system's records and go and find it yourself if you would like. But to say that this is like, that what you're looking at, this document is fake, is total nonsense. Okay? That is evidence, a witness affidavit of voter fraud. End of story. This is not a doctor, must be legit. What are you talking about? It's a person. Look, it's evidence. Did I not say it was evidence? Is that not? Do you not believe that that is evidence? Like, do people not understand how the legal process works? Like, you find a legal issue, you file court documents, the court says, okay, you can proceed to discovery, you go through the discovery phase and you can find more evidence, and then that evidence is provided to, maybe it's a hearing or maybe it's a jury trial or whatever, and then they go and they make a decision on whether or not that thing actually happened or not. Actually, I did get short. The robot got short there. He took it. Although he's going to be a little upset because it just barely didn't fill him. I saw a poll worker with an affidavit complain about no food was given. I'm going to bet you that if you read all of these affidavits, you're going to find some things in them that seem silly. Or that aren't really illegal or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But that's where I'm just saying it's evidence. Like, the thing is the argument was there's no evidence. There's evidence. There's 234 pages and more coming of evidence. Right? And then you can look at the evidence yourself and you can make the conclusions about whether voter fraud occurred or not. But I think should be pretty obvious at this point that there is some degree of voter fraud. Well, it's evidence not just that people are upset about something, but I think in this case that's evidence that GOP vote count challengers were illegally removed and taken from the process.
Which is about 4 hours old, so just bear that in mind. But Republicans.
So that's the difficult thing. So you're saying
said yesterday that he was.
What did you say earlier? I didn't say it was fake. I'm saying that probably happens every election.
Friday.
If it's not perfect, do we just do it over? No. Here's what you do. You compile every
access to the presidential daily
instance of voter fraud that you can possibly find, and you push them all through the courts. And if that's enough to change the outcome of the election, then it changes the outcome of the election. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. So this is where it gets into the real question, which is, why shouldn't we pursue every possible instance of voter fraud? Right? I would think that the only reason you wouldn't want to do that is if you want the voter fraud to occur. Thank you. I'm not going to kill him. He's like one of my best friends. He knows, and I feel comfortable arguing with him like this because I believe that we both respect each other greatly. So I'm all for the facts that come out. Good. I think we're on the same page there on that then. And to the point that I'm not sure that this is the point that you're trying to make necessarily, but maybe it's in the spirit of what you're getting at. It seems to me based on what I've looked at so far. And it's not like I've gone through and read every single one of these and tabulated how many votes it could potentially affect and so on and so forth. But it seems to me that even after the courts work it all out, that it's probably not going to change the outcome. It's probably not. Especially, I mean, we don't have the final tallies from some of these states, but some of these states are well over 100,000 win for Joe Biden, and I don't think that that's going to be overcome. But I don't care about if it changes the outcome. I'm concerned that the system is compromised, and that if we don't actively work to, you know, keep this election secure, that it will very quickly turn into the point where the entire election is just a complete fraud. I mean, there have been elections in other countries. The Ukraine election, a great example, where the United States refused to accept the results of that election because of these very problems. But if you read through these more, that's more a case of people not understanding their process. There are probably some of those. They just get married to Utah allows multiple marriages. I just think Gary's jealous. Listen, if we do that, you can come too, Gary. You're invited. No, I think maybe some people don't understand the process, but there was also very clearly some instances where GOP challengers were basically prevented from doing their job. Like, there's no reason that, like, there's no point of having poll challengers if you're required to stand 20 feet away. You know what I mean? Stick, what about me? Well, I'll think about that one. I don't just... I mean, we can have a whole, you want to start a compound? Did the robot get busted? No, he made it. Winner, winner. Da, 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 da. My robot made $100 today. I'm so proud, Robot Aces. Yesterday he was just code, and now he's a full trading robot. Okay, but I call top bunk. I don't do oh my god. No, you don't do compounds. Okay, we won't do a compound. It'll just have to be a really big house. You can each... No, I won't be bunks. We'll give you each your own room. Escape to the outback and live off grid. Someday I should go to Australia. I think I want to go... Where's some place? You know where I really want to go? Oh, what is it called? I don't even remember now. Ah, that's right. Nazaré. I want to go and see people surf at Nazaré. That's what I want. That's where I want to go. Right now. I also really want to go and see what they call Heaven's Gate in China. There's that huge, like rock formation with a hole in it that the Red Bull guy flew through. I don't know if that one's happening anytime soon. But I could go and see people surf at Nazaré, where it's spelled Nazare with a hyphen. I will show you. There is this place. Yes, this is perfect. There's this place in Portugal that has something to do with the way that the bay is and everything. It just creates these gigantic waves. Waves so big that you basically have to have a ski-doo to get up and ride. and there is a cliff and a monastery on that cliff. And so everybody gets up and watches the surfers from the cliff. And you can go and you can watch videos of like literally thousands of people sitting along the cliff and in the monastery and stuff watching people surf. But they had to close it down because of coronavirus and stuff. And you just get gigantic waves. I went to go and see it. And that's like the top of my, if we go to Europe, I think that's where I want to go. I want to surf Costa Rica. You have to come to California and see the Mavericks Beach. Oh, I've never heard of that. But I should, I haven't been to California in a long time. Okay, so I don't understand the process, so I'll do the sensible thing, let the experts weigh in. What does a vote challenger do? So I think it depends a lot on the state, right? The way that I've had it explained to me by when I was like, I remember when I was working for the Love campaign and I was talking to people and somebody was talking to me about doing it. But generally what would happen is that there would be the poll worker, or they call it the canvasser, and he's going through all of the individual votes, right? In the case of mail-in ballots, I guess that involves like opening up the actual envelope and stuff. But most of this counting is done by machine, right? So the cases where the canvassers are involved is it usually has more to do with when there's a problem with it, right? So you'll get a sheet back and it'll say, this one wouldn't read. Okay, well, they didn't fill it out very well. They used a Sharpie, would be like a great example. They used a Sharpie and the machine can't read it. Well, they very clearly was voting for Donald Trump and all of these people. So then what they would do is the canvasser would get a new ballot, fill out the new ballot properly with the same choices, and then destroy the old ballot. And during this process, there would be the challengers would be there from both sides. And the challenger would say, no, that's not what happened. You did that wrong. Right. And so the ability to actually see the actual ballot itself and understand what the canvasser is doing at that time is an important part of it. Right. So the issue here is that they were GOP challengers were like not allowed in at all, which the campaign has a legal right to allow them in there. So what the argument from the left is that there's coronavirus restrictions and so forth. But I think that if that one goes to court, because the court already ruled in Donald Trump's favor a number of times. So you can go and you can find the video of them denying Corey Lewandowski. You didn't read any that said they were not allowed in? Well, okay. So the best example of this was that after they received the court order, Corey Lewandowski went down to the convention center with the court order in his hand to go in and be a GOP challenger, and they wouldn't let him in. And there's a video of that. It would be very easy to find Corey Lewandowski. So nothing else interesting has happened with him lately other than that. But there was a case, and in those affidavits that I linked to you earlier, I think you're going to find that that the majority of that is going to have to do with them either not being allowed in at all or not being allowed to be close enough to see what was going on. Was it from people wanting to commit fraud or misunderstanding of COVID restrictions? No. So have you seen this? This one, I'm not sure. I wasn't able to verify what it was, if it was real or not. But I still think that it is worth talking about to kind of give color here, is that there was this video where somebody took undercover of training, and the trainer was training the canvassers to do things that essentially they weren't supposed to do. So for instance, they were saying, okay, if you got a mail-in ballot and you're done, and then do you put it over here in this pile? No, you put it here in this pile, because then they won't be able to tell the difference between mail-in ballots and otherwise, and then they can't count them out later, for instance. So they were doing that. And one of the things that they were doing, and they were even passing around flyers about it, was they were giving them tips on how to get the GOP challengers kicked out. And one of them was saying that you're too close to me because of coronavirus restrictions and you could get kicked out. Do you see? So, yeah. Well, so that's where I think that you would say, why would they want to kick the challengers out? Why wouldn't you allow the GOP challengers in, right? I think that you would only be doing that if you didn't want them to challenge things, right? So that alone is a pretty good case. Like, that's where you can go in and say that happened. And if that goes to the Supreme Court or whatever court that goes to, I don't know what potential ramifications that can have, but that's definitely one of the stronger legal avenues that you're going to go down, right? Now, some of the instances that they're talking about in there's one in there that is like they had a stack of 50 ballots and they ran it multiple times. So there's a number of things where there's eyewitnesses claiming that. And so then at that point, where do you get? Well, that's when you should do a recount, right? So it's unclear if there will be a recount in Pennsylvania at this moment. There will be one in Georgia, and a complete everything in Georgia. So there, you do it in Georgia, and then if it's the same, then you say, okay, fine.
U.S.
Right?
Secretary of State Pompeo on Monday.
But I think that the goal in that instance is, particularly in Pennsylvania, would be to force the court to call a hand recount. It doesn't mean fraud. Well, but we know that fraud has occurred, right? I think we should rephrase that, right? We don't have a perfect system. That doesn't mean that the end result is fraudulent, right? And the chances of them being able to overturn it, I think, are really low. But fraud did occur, and I think that you should pursue it, because if you don't pursue it, really what you're doing is you're encouraging people to commit more fraud. And I think that's what Republicans are worried about. Well, if you have an eyewitness account of fraud happening, that would be evidence. I wouldn't call it proof.
So again, that's coming out from a Bloomberg news.
That would be up for a jury to decide if it was proof.
Stimulus negotiations.
But that would be evidence. Yeah, we should check in on it. And that's where it kind of makes me frustrated, is that, like, the FBI should be coming out and saying, we, the FBI, are aware that there are people claiming that fraud has occurred, and we will investigate any credible claims of voter fraud, because that's what our job as the FBI is to do. Have they made an announcement like that? No, they haven't. And that's where you really run into issues with the Republicans, because all the Republicans think, the deep state, the FBI has been against Donald Trump from the very beginning. They're not going to do their job, and we can't trust them on this.
Energy Intel Deputy Bureau Chief back.
If the FBI said that, would you be happy? I would be really happy about it. Yeah.
Iran's oil.
I mean, I wouldn't be the end of it, but it would be super happy if they said that they were investigating.
Again, according to senior Iranian officials.
When will they certify? Well, it's going to be different by state, right? So this is where the thing that Gary and Sunday Driver and the more conservative guys here in our channel,
The relief should be about the amount on
they
in September.
think that if the court process is gummed up with claims by the time that the electors are supposed to meet, that it would invalidate those elections. And I'm not so sure that that's how it works. I'm pretty sure that you would have to get some sort of a court order preventing your chosen electors from going forward. I go right up a handwritten affidavit saying they are safe. Okay. Okay, so here's what I want you to do, Ace. You go do that, but you have to get it. What is the word? You know, like you have to go to the bank and have the guy, like, you give them the letter and you sign it and they see that you signed it and all of that. You have to do all of that. What do they call that? Fudge.
U.S. Senate Majority.
Notarized, okay?
I'm not
notarized.
In a dramatic.
You write that letter and go and get it notarized.
Democrats were looking for at least 2.2 trillion.
And then we'll see where we're at. It'll be signed by Hoover himself. What? But my point there is that I don't think that the notary will let you do it, right? Well, that Treasury just spiked right back up there. Well, that was the auction. What do you think? Do you think now that the auction is over, they'll come back down? It's really curious. I'm just looking at the E-mini here, and it's still range bound. I mean, they made an okay move, but pretty inconclusive action. If I had been in that mode where I just want it to run and I refuse to take the profit, and those can be some of my worst days, really. But if that's where I was at, it would have been a really frustrating day, wouldn't it? Write a report and write 5,000 times no fraud this election and turn it into you. Oh, thank you. I love it. I'll give you my address so you can send that over. My cut and paste is already on it. How long do you think that this range-bound action in the E-mini can last? Are they waiting for something? Ooh, we get tomorrow. Let's go look. And then we gotta shut the stream down. Oh, you know what? There's one other thing I gotta remember. Yesterday, it was some sort of major hacking attack, it appears. I mean, I'm not seeing a whole lot about it anymore, but like YouTube was unavailable for everybody and several other websites, and I was hearing reports that they had taken down one of the routing nodes. So if that happens, like I would just, and you want to know where the stream is, if I can't stream it on YouTube, I will try to do it on Twitch. If I can't do it on Twitch, there's maybe a couple of other ways that we might be able to do it, but I would check the Discord, and Twitter would be the first places to go. So I was just thinking about that yesterday. I was like, I don't know that everybody would know exactly where to go if anything happened, if YouTube was just like was just straight up not there. Because what we could do is we could just do a voice session in Discord. So what is your robot's name? The robot is Ace 5 because it's based off of a setup that Ace showed to me. And what is it calculating? I'm not saying, but it looks for a specific trigger and then takes the next trade after that trigger. Yeah, that's the one that shorted was Ace's signal. Did you really like that trade? No, it's not based on order flow, actually. I have another one that is based on order flow that, well, I might incorporate order flow into it, actually. I need to do a lot more investigation on order flow because, like I can make certain triggers and stuff, but it's really hard for me to get like the hard stats on what it's actually doing there. Like I can only look at it day by day. So yeah, but I have one that was, you know, looking at
11:45 a.m.
So there's the other one that I turned off. I'm going to make a change to it today and we'll run it again tomorrow. I'm going to get rid of the exits, the exits on that one.
This video link out for you earlier on, but we have just
the way the camera set up, it looks like you're always hacking the chat.
The link that we have just provided for you on the Financial Juice newsfeed.
Okay, I should go now. Good day. I guess I'm pretty happy with my e-mini with, you know, like I knew what to do. Plan worked out well. I executed on it okay. You know, we had a really great place. I'm just looking at it here again. 35.52. There's a possibility that they will go for that. There's going to be some incentive for them to try and push it through here. But since we still appear to be in range-bound action, after that, I think I would probably be looking to build a position in again at some point. If I stuck to that plan. So, yeah. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. What should we name today's video? Dum, 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 dum. We did so much today. Today was a long. We talked about so many different random things today. I'm going to say Treasuries move up amid low CPI data and auctions. Amid. That's an interesting word. All right. Stay profitable, friends.